Let me ask you something honestly. If 2026 meets you at the end of the year and asks, did you become better? Or did you just become older? What will your answer be? Because time is very polite. It keeps moving forward whether we grow or not. And that is why 2026 is not asking you to work harder on your job, your phone, or your social image. It is asking you to work on yourself. Most people wake up every day with a long list of goals. They want success, respect, happiness, peace, confidence. But very few pause to ask a more important question. Asterisk, who am I becoming while chasing all this? Asterisk, we live in a world that celebrates results but rarely talks about roots. We are taught how to perform, how to impress, how to survive, but not how to understand ourselves. That is why many people achieve things and still feel empty, restless, or confused. The problem is not effort. The problem is lack of awareness. Awareness is the ability to observe your own life without running away from the truth. It is noticing patterns in your behavior instead of blaming circumstances. It is seeing your emotions rise without immediately acting on them. Most mistakes in life do not happen because people are bad. They happen because people are unconscious of their own habits. Think about it. How many times have you said something and later thought, why did I react like that? How often do you repeat the same mistakes in relationships, work, or health, even after promising yourself that this time will be different? Without awareness, life becomes a loop. Different days, same patterns. Many people try to change their lives by changing external things. New job, new place, new people. But wherever they go, they carry the same mind with them. Awareness teaches a simple but powerful truth. If the mind does not change, the results will not change either. Self-awareness is not self-criticism. It is not about judging yourself harshly or feeling guilty about your flaws. It is about honest observation. When you notice your anger without justifying it, it slowly loses power over you. When you notice your laziness without excuses, discipline starts to grow. When you notice your fears without hiding from them, courage quietly enters your life. A person who is aware does not waste energy pretending. They accept where they are, and that acceptance becomes the starting point of real growth. You cannot fix what you refuse to see. You cannot improve what you keep denying. Awareness also brings responsibility. When you stop blaming people, situations, or luck, you realize that many of your struggles are connected to choices. How you think, how you speak, how you react. This realization is uncomfortable at first, but it is also empowering. Because the moment you take responsibility, you regain control. Silence plays a big role here. In silence, you hear your own thoughts clearly. In stillness, you notice what truly matters to you. That is why people who are constantly busy often feel lost when they are alone. Awareness grows in moments when you slow down enough to listen to yourself. As awareness increases, clarity follows. You begin to understand what drains you and what energizes you. You start recognizing which habits push you forward and which quietly pull you back. Life stops feeling random and starts feeling intentional. Real achievement does not begin with action. It begins with understanding. Before building a better future, you must understand your present. When awareness comes first, improvement becomes natural, effort becomes meaningful, and growth becomes lasting. Many people say they respect themselves, but their daily actions tell a different story. Self-respect is not something you declare with words. It is something you demonstrate through discipline. Discipline is the quiet language of self-respect. It shows how seriously you take your own life. Most people wait for motivation. They wait to feel inspired, confident, or ready. But motivation is emotional, and emotions change every day. Discipline does not depend on feelings. It depends on commitment. It is the ability to do what needs to be done even when the mind is tired, bored, or looking for excuses. Every promise you make to yourself matters. When you repeatedly break those promises, waking up late, avoiding responsibilities, quitting too early, your confidence slowly erodes. Not because the task was hard, but because your mind starts believing that your own words have no value. Discipline repairs this damage. Each time you keep a small promise, trust in yourself grows. Discipline is often misunderstood as punishment. In reality, it is protection. It protects your time from distraction, your energy from waste, and your future from regret. It helps you say no to what feels good now, so you can say yes to what truly matters later. There will be days when no one is watching, no applause, no recognition. Those days reveal your true character. Discipline is what guides you on those days. It is choosing consistency over comfort, progress over pleasure, and growth over excuses. Discipline also brings freedom. This may sound strange, but the more disciplined you become, the less controlled you feel. When your habits are strong, your mind becomes calm. When your routines are stable, stress reduces. Chaos comes from lack of structure, not from responsibility. Self-respect grows when your actions align with your values. You stop feeling guilty because you stop betraying yourself. You stop doubting your ability because you prove it daily through effort. Discipline builds quiet confidence, the kind that does not need validation. Life becomes lighter when discipline becomes a habit. Decisions become simpler. Energy becomes focused. You no longer argue with yourself about what needs to be done. You just do it. In the end, discipline is not about being harsh with yourself. It is about caring enough to give yourself the life you deserve. When you treat your goals with seriousness, your mind begins to treat you with respect. The way a day begins often decides the way the mind behaves for the rest of it. Most people underestimate this. They rush into the morning, grab their phone, scroll through messages, absorb other people's emotions, problems, and opinions, and then wonder why they feel distracted, anxious, or drained before the day has even started. The mind is most impressionable in the early hours. Whatever you feed it first becomes the background noise of the entire day. If the morning begins with chaos, the mind learns chaos. If it begins with calm, the mind learns stability. A powerful morning does not require complicated routines or unrealistic habits. It requires intention. Even a few quiet minutes can shift your mental direction. When you give yourself space before the world demands your attention, you start responding to life instead of reacting to it. When the morning is rushed, the mind carries a sense of shortage. There is never enough time, never enough energy, never enough patience. This scarcity mindset follows you into conversations, decisions, and work. But when the morning is slow and conscious, the mind experiences abundance. You feel prepared instead of pressured. What you do in the first hour is not about productivity alone. It is about identity. When you begin your day with awareness, movement, or learning, you remind yourself that growth matters. When you begin it with distraction, you train the mind to seek escape rather than purpose. Morning discipline builds mental strength. It teaches you to guide your attention instead of surrendering it. Over time, this control carries into the rest of the day. Focus improves, emotions become more stable, decisions become clearer. Silence in the morning has a special power. In silence, thoughts settle. You notice what you are carrying emotionally before it spills into the day. You become aware of intentions instead of being driven by habits. This small practice creates a strong foundation. A well-shaped morning does not make life perfect, but it makes the mind prepared. Challenges still come, but they are faced with clarity rather than confusion. Pressure still exists, but it does not overwhelm you. When you take responsibility for your mornings, you slowly take responsibility for your inner world. And when the inner world is steady, the outer world becomes easier to handle. Life does not test patience in peaceful moments. It tests it in pressure. Situations will not always be kind, people will not always be understanding, and outcomes will not always match expectations. In these moments, the greatest danger is not the situation itself, but the reaction it provokes. Most damage in life is caused not by what happens, but by how quickly and unconsciously we respond. A single uncontrolled reaction can undo years of effort. Words spoken in anger, decisions made in frustration, actions taken in impulse often leave consequences that last far longer than the emotion that caused them. The mind is naturally fast. It jumps to conclusions, assumptions, and judgments. Growth begins when you create a small space between stimulus and response. That space is called a pause. In that pause lies wisdom. Pausing does not mean suppressing emotions. It means acknowledging them without letting them take control. Anger, fear, disappointment, these emotions are signals, not commands. When you react immediately, emotions become the driver. When you pause, awareness takes the driver's seat. The ability to pause is a skill that strengthens with practice. At first, it feels uncomfortable. The mind wants release. It wants expression. But restraint is not weakness. It is strength refined. Every time you pause instead of reacting, you train your mind to choose clarity over chaos. A calm response often has more impact than a loud reaction. Silence can communicate maturity. Thoughtful words can dissolve tension. When you stop reacting, you start influencing. Pausing also protects relationships. Many bonds break not because of lack of love, but because of lack of control in difficult moments. When emotions rise, patience becomes the bridge that saves connection. Over time, this habit changes your inner world. You begin to feel less controlled by external events. Peace no longer depends on people behaving a certain way. Confidence grows because you trust yourself to handle pressure wisely. The power to pause turns challenges into lessons and conflicts into opportunities for growth. It allows you to act from values rather than from impulse, and that is the mark of inner strength. Many people stay busy their entire lives yet feel replaceable. They know a little about many things, but not enough about anything to feel confident in their value. In a world full of noise and options, scattered effort feels productive, but rarely leads to mastery. True growth comes from depth, not from constant switching. When you commit to improving one meaningful skill, your mind learns focus, patience, and consistency. That single decision begins to reshape how you approach everything else in life. A skill is more than a talent. It is a relationship built through time and effort. At first, progress feels slow and uncomfortable. The mind resists because depth requires staying when excitement fades. But this is exactly where transformation happens. Most people quit at boredom. Those who stay discover strength. Working deeply on one skill builds self-trust. You see proof that effort compounds. Small daily improvements slowly turn into confidence that cannot be shaken easily. This confidence does not come from comparison. It comes from competence. Mastery also brings clarity. When you know what you are developing, distractions lose power. You stop chasing every opportunity and start choosing intentionally. Focus becomes easier because your energy has direction. Improving one skill deeply also shapes character. Patience grows because results take time. Humility grows because learning exposes limitations. Discipline grows because repetition is required. These qualities quietly improve every area of life. A deeply developed skill creates independence. You are not easily replaced because you offer substance, not just enthusiasm. People trust those who have depth. Opportunities naturally gravitate toward those who are prepared. The process teaches an important lesson. Growth is not dramatic, it is repetitive. It is showing up on ordinary days and working without immediate reward. Over time, this quiet dedication builds something powerful and lasting. Human beings are deeply influenced by the people around them, often more than they realize. Thoughts, habits, attitudes, and even ambitions are quietly shaped through everyday conversations and shared environments. Over time, this influence becomes direction. That is why the quality of your circle often decides the height of your growth. When you spend time with people who complain constantly, negativity starts to feel normal. When you are surrounded by those who lack purpose, aimlessness becomes comfortable. This does not happen suddenly. It happens slowly, almost invisibly. The mind adapts to its environment. A healthy circle does not mean perfect people. It means people who are honest, growth-oriented, and emotionally mature. People who can celebrate your progress without jealousy and challenge you without disrespect. Such relationships stretch your thinking instead of shrinking it. Sometimes the hardest part of growth is realizing that certain connections belong to a previous version of you. Holding on out of habit or fear keeps you tied to limitations you have outgrown. Growth often requires distance, not because of lack of care, but because of self-respect. Your conversations matter. What you talk about repeatedly becomes what you think about deeply. When discussions are centered around learning, purpose, and improvement, your mindset expands naturally. When they revolve around gossip, blame, and comparison, energy drains quickly. Being in the right circle also teaches accountability. When those around you value discipline and integrity, excuses feel uncomfortable. You are inspired to rise, not forced, but influenced by example. Sometimes growth also means learning to walk alone for a while. This period is not loneliness, it is preparation. It allows you to reset standards and attract connections that align with who you are becoming, not who you were. The people you allow close to you shape your beliefs about what is possible. When you choose your circle wisely, your ceiling quietly rises and your path becomes clearer. Many people fear being alone, not because they dislike silence, but because silence forces them to face themselves. When distractions disappear, unresolved thoughts, emotions, and insecurities surface. That discomfort is often mistaken for loneliness, but in reality, it is an invitation to self-understanding. Being alone does not mean being disconnected from the world. It means being connected to yourself. When you learn to sit with your own thoughts without escaping, you begin to develop inner stability. You stop depending on constant interaction to feel complete. Loneliness comes from feeling unseen, even in a crowd. Solitude, on the other hand, comes from choice. It is a space where you reflect, recharge, and realign. In solitude, you hear your inner voice more clearly, the one that gets drowned out by noise and opinion. When you are comfortable alone, you stop chasing validation. You no longer measure your worth by attention, approval, or presence of others. Confidence grows quietly because it is no longer borrowed, it is built. Time spent alone sharpens clarity. You understand what you truly want instead of what you are expected to want. You recognize emotional patterns. You learn what drains you and what nourishes you. This awareness leads to healthier decisions and stronger boundaries. Solitude also strengthens emotional independence. You become less reactive to rejection, misunderstanding, or absence. Peace no longer depends on someone else's behavior. You carry it within yourself. People who know how to be alone bring depth into relationships. They connect by choice, not need. They give without losing themselves. Their presence feels steady, not demanding. Learning to be alone without feeling lonely is not withdrawal from life. It is preparation for a life lived with intention, balance, and inner strength. Many people treat health as something they will focus on later. Once life becomes less busy, they push their bodies, ignore warning signs, and assume energy will always be available when needed. Over time, this neglect quietly collects a cost that must eventually be paid. The body is not separate from ambition, focus, or emotional balance. It is the foundation that supports all of it. When the body is exhausted, the mind becomes impatient. When health declines, discipline weakens. No goal feels inspiring when energy is low. Movement is not only about fitness, it is about circulation of life. A body that moves regularly carries less stress and more clarity. Even simple activity improves mood, concentration, and resilience. When the body is active, the mind follows with alertness. Sleep is often sacrificed first, yet it is the most powerful recovery tool. Lack of rest distorts judgment, lowers motivation, and amplifies emotions. A rested mind handles pressure with composure. Consistent sleep restores balance more effectively than motivation ever could. Food is not just fuel, it is information. What you eat teaches your body how to function. Mindless eating leads to sluggishness, while mindful nourishment supports stability and strength. Respecting food is an act of self-care, not restriction. Health also involves listening. The body constantly communicates through fatigue, tension, and discomfort. Ignoring these signals disconnects you from yourself. Responding to them builds trust and awareness. When health becomes a priority, confidence improves naturally. Energy becomes reliable. Focus sharpens. You stop pushing through life and start moving with it. Caring for the body is not about appearance. It is about sustainability. A strong body supports long-term growth, allowing effort, ambition, and purpose to be carried with strength and grace. Failure often carries a heavy emotional weight, not because of the event itself, but because of the meaning we attach to it. Many people see failure as a final verdict on their ability or worth. This belief quietly destroys confidence and discourages effort long before real potential is explored. Every failure is a message. It highlights gaps in preparation, strategy, patience, or understanding. When viewed honestly, it becomes guidance rather than judgment, but this requires separating what happened from who you are. An outcome can be wrong without you being incapable. Growth demands experimentation, and experimentation includes mistakes. Progress is never a straight line. It bends, breaks, and restarts. Those who succeed are not those who avoid failure, but those who learn to interpret it correctly. Failure humbles the ego. It reminds you that learning is ongoing and improvement is always possible. This humility keeps the mind open. Without it, growth stops, because arrogance blocks learning. Discomfort after failure is natural. It forces reflection. It asks difficult questions, but avoiding this discomfort leads to repeated errors. When you face failure with honesty, insight emerges. Adjustment becomes possible. Resilience grows each time you recover. Confidence built through recovery is stronger than confidence built through comfort. You begin to trust your ability to adapt, not just your ability to win. Failure also clarifies priorities. It shows what truly matters and what was driven by fear, pride, or comparison. In this clarity, direction becomes sharper. When failure is treated as feedback, It becomes part of progress rather than a reason to stop. It no longer defines identity. It refines character and strengthens resolve. Failure often carries a heavy emotional weight, not because of the event itself, but because of the meaning we attach to it. Many people see failure as a final verdict on their ability or worth. This belief quietly drains confidence and creates fear around effort, making people hesitate even before trying. Every failure is a form of communication. It points to something that needs adjustments, skills, preparation, mindset, or approach. When viewed with honesty, failure becomes information rather than punishment. The key is to separate the result from identity. A setback describes what happened, not who you are. Progress is built through trial, not certainty. Anyone who has ever grown has stumbled along the way. Mistakes are not signs of incompetence. They are signs of participation. Those who avoid failure often avoid growth as well. Failure also slows you down in a way success never does. It forces reflection. It asks you to look inward and examine patterns. This pause, though uncomfortable, is where real learning takes place. Without reflection, lessons repeat themselves. There is humility hidden inside failure. It reminds you that improvement is ongoing and that mastery takes time. This humility keeps the mind open, flexible, and willing to learn. Without it, ego hardens and progress stops. Recovering from failure builds resilience. Each recovery strengthens emotional endurance and mental toughness. You begin to trust not just your ability to succeed, but your ability to rise after falling. This trust creates courage. Failure also clarifies intention. It reveals whether you are pursuing something meaningful or chasing validation. In this clarity, focus sharpens and purpose becomes stronger. When failure is treated as feedback, it transforms from an obstacle into a teacher. It stops defining limits and starts shaping wisdom, guiding you forward with experience instead of fear. Imagine looking back at your life from the future, standing in a place where choices have become consequences, and wondering what your younger self did with the time, energy, and potential you were given. Every action you take today echoes in the years to come, quietly shaping the person you will become. Growth is not a sudden explosion. It is the accumulation of countless small decisions that either lift you closer to your potential or keep you comfortable in familiar patterns. Becoming someone your future self will thank is not about chasing applause, recognition, or external validation. It is about building habits, character, and understanding that create a life of integrity and resilience. It is about asking the difficult questions and giving honest answers, even when it is uncomfortable. It is about showing up for yourself consistently, not because it is easy, but because it matters. The process of self-work often feels slow, even invisible, because real transformation happens beneath the surface. Confidence grows quietly, patience strengthens, clarity sharpens, strength accumulates. Every small choice to act with intention, to treat your body with care, to nurture your mind, to pause before reacting, and to face failure as a teacher compounds into a version of you who is capable, grounded, and fulfilled. Your future self does not require perfection. They require effort, presence, and consistency. They will be grateful for the moments when you resisted shortcuts, endured discomfort, and chose to learn instead of complain. They will appreciate when you prioritized depth over distraction, discipline over impulse, and meaning over approval. The real gift you can give yourself is not material, nor is it temporary. It is the quiet development of character, wisdom, and resilience that allows you to meet life's challenges without panic, handle opportunities without fear, and live a life aligned with your true values. This is the person your future self will look back on and say, "Thank you for not giving up on me." Working on yourself in this way is an investment with the highest return. It builds a foundation so strong that no circumstance can easily shake it, no opinion can easily sway it, and no failure can easily break it. The effort you put in now plants seeds that will bear fruit for years, decades, and even generations. Every choice, every moment of discipline, every pause, every attempt to grow is a deposit into the life you will one day inhabit. Start now, not for recognition, not for applause, not for comparison, but for the quiet, enduring satisfaction of becoming someone your future self will be proud to meet. As 2026 unfolds, remember this: the world will not wait for you to be ready, and time will not pause for your comfort. What matters is the small, consistent work you do on yourself every single day, the awareness you cultivate, the discipline you practice, the habits you build, and the strength you nurture. Work on yourself not to impress others, not to prove a point, not to chase fleeting success, but to become a version of you that can face life with courage, clarity, and purpose. Let this year be remembered, not for what the world gave you, but for what you gave yourself: growth, resilience, and the quiet power of becoming someone your future self will thank. Because in the end, the greatest achievement is not wealth, fame, or recognition. It is becoming the person you are truly capable of being.